Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today's video is going to tell you how you can stop swaying in the backswing and sliding into impact. These are the two of the horrible pieces of words that I hear people use all the time. I want to stop swaying, I want to stop sliding. Well, this is your answer. In today's video, I'm going to show you a drill for the backswing, a drill for the downswing, and ultimately show you how you can stop sliding and swaying throughout the whole golf swing. Let's get straight into today's video. So let's start with the backswing and how we can stop swaying on the backswing, and then we'll talk about a simple drill to stop sliding. So why do we sway on the backswing? Now, I find a lot of people actually sway on this backswing because they don't understand what these hips need to do throughout this backswing. They try and make a more body turn, so to create more body turn they have to sway and lift. So how can we stop swaying and lifting, and what actually does the body want to do? Well, let me show you with a really nice simple concept here. We've got one alignment stick which I want you to place on your zip line, and the second alignment stick roughly on a 45-degree angle to this. Don't have to be so precise. Then we get a golf club. We're going to place it across our chest, and for a right-handed player I want more pointing out your left-hand side, and for a left-handed player we'd have the opposite scenario, golf club pointing out this way and the 45-degree angle on our left-hand side. So what I like you to do is place that first alignment stick and the middle alignment stick on your zip line, the other one at 45-degree angle. So if you're someone that sways, these hips would move off the golf ball in this direction, and there wouldn't be a lot of hip turn. It would be a sway and a sort of a body turn and arm turn, rather than if we're someone who wants to load into the backswing correctly, we would actually picture, if we drew a line through the middle of my back here, that as we're doing this we wouldn't really move off this line, and that is why from your perspective I want you to keep this blue line here. I want you to make a move now where we get the hips pointing down this alignment stick and we get the shoulders pointing down the middle alignment stick, because as you can see as I do this, I've got no lateral movement this way or very little sway. I've got a feeling of load. So as I move my hips, I want to feel that my right hip gets higher and my right leg straightens slightly. It doesn't lock out, it just loses a little bit of flex. So we're looking for a move which looks like this, loaded, end of the butt of the club pointing down this alignment stick, belt buckle down the right alignment stick, and that's really going to allow us to get the feeling of these hips turning throughout this backswing and not sliding. And as soon as you understand that the hips are allowed to turn and not sway, we're going to be in a good place. Now, what concept could you use over the golf ball? The concept that I really like is, imagine you had a wall just above hip height, so about this height here. If we were making a move against this wall, I don't want to feel like your bum slides along that wall. I want you to feel that you're going to press your right bum cheek into the wall, so not swaying along the wall. We're trying to feel as though you press your right bum cheek into the wall. So as I do this, you can see I'm loading into that right side, I'm not swaying into that right side, and that's really going to give me a good feeling of a good turn, a good load. And actually, if we get these firing better, we get this firing better, so actually we create a bigger stretch, we create longer shots. So how can we actually aid the hip mobility? Now, this is something that's really simple, which a lot of people don't do. The amount of times I see people addressing the golf ball with their feet pointing directly towards camera or pointing slightly inwards towards the golf ball. Now, I want you to do this now. When next time you go to the golf club, point the toes really inwards and look at your hip mobility, really reduced in terms of rotation. I can still slide from here very easily, but rotation's really inhibited. I want you to feel now you point the toes slightly flared. Look at how much more hip mobility we've got. We can still sway and slide just as easy, but our hip mobility is really increased. So in terms of applying this concept of feeling that we get the hips turning, not sliding along that wall or swaying along that wall, then we've actually got something that's going to help us do this. So summarize the first part of this. We're not trying to sway during the backswing, and then we'll get on to the downswing concept. So golf club across the chest, really trying to feel we press into that wall, belt buckle down the blue alignment stick, butt of the club pointing at the end of the alignment stick, really feeling like I'm loading into that right hand side but not swaying into that right hand side. Let me hit this one away for you now. So addressing that golf ball, Really feeling as though belt buckle down this alignment stick, blue is where my shoulder's going to point. Really having that concept and clear, concise thought of, I don't want to slide along or sway along that wall, I want to press my right bum cheek into that wall. Let me hit this one now and then we'll get into the downswing. So, nice shot there. Let's get straight into this downswing. So we've got the concept of the backswing of really trying to feel that we've got that wall behind us and we don't slide along that wall. We feel that we load into that wall, and that's a really good analogy to think of because that's something you can apply straight to the golf ball. Remember the flared feet and have that feeling of, okay, I could do these as part of my pre-shot routine, club across the chest, feel like I turn into the right hip, I don't slide or sway along that wall. Now the analogy I like to use in the downswing is very, very similar. I like to think of the downswing as a 5% shift and 95% turn, and very often people actually don't get the hips firing or belt buckle enough towards target. So this is why we see this slide into the golf ball. So if we go back to having the feet flared, this is what is going to help us increase our hip turn into the golf ball because we're actually increasing our hip mobility. Remember, point those toes in and really see how it is reduced. Pointing the toes out, we've now got the ability to move these hips. So if we apply that feeling of we want a 5% shift and a 95% turn in the downswing, we can marry that all up to one. So imagining that wall, we don't want to slide along that wall in the downswing. We want to feel like we turn to the top, we shift 5%, we move 95% towards target, so my belt buckle is more towards the target and we're not sliding along that wall too much. Now, you can ask me the question here is, how do I get that feeling in terms of correctness on the golf course or in terms of correctness in a drill? What I would feel here is, I would like to feel that I make an over-exaggerated move. So we can apply the backswing and downswing together. Turn it to the top, feel as though we turn the belt buckle towards target, swing it through. Now, when I do this drill on my own, I actually don't feel that 5% shift. I just like to feel 100% turn because I'm a big believer that is when we got the club actually swinging, we've got a bit of momentum in the whole golf shot. So we're going to almost add in that 5% shift naturally, I believe. And I believe that at any level. So if we can get that feeling now of to the top, right, I don't want to slide along that wall. I want to feel as though my left pocket is being pulled around me. So it's being pulled up and around me. So to the top, left pocket up and around, into the golf ball, swinging through. And I think this is a concept you can take straight out onto the golf course. So if I had a part of my pre-shot routine now and I wanted to marry the first part of the video, so the backswing, and now the second part in the downswing, I could do this all in one go. Pre-shot routine, feeling like I'm loading to the top, now the downswing, moving through, 95% turn, 5% shift, through onto the golf ball, address it with the flared feet because it's going to help me increase that hip mobility, address it and hit it. Nice shot. Now, I really feel this is a fantastic drill for me. I'm one of them people that if I don't practice a lot and I get into a bad situation like some of us here, I look a little bit like this at impact. Very bent left leg and really sliding towards the golf ball. I get very stuck, I get very drivey, and ultimately I have very little control of this. Now, if we get the body firing better, we then start to have control of this more, we then start to have control of this more, we then have control of what the golf ball is doing out on the golf course. So what let's do here is just really summarize this video and go into a little bit more depth about what is actually happening. So in the downswing, I like the analogy of 5% shift and 95% turn because that really gets us the feeling of shifting towards target, belt buckle working through towards target as well. And like I mentioned before, a lot of people that slide into this golf ball really struggle to understand what these hips are doing. So how could we actually apply this to a little bit more of a drill in specific detail we could do on the range? You've got the analogy of not sliding along the wall, which you could take straight into your pre-shot routine, and that's something you can build to create consistency out on the golf course. But sometimes we need a little bit more help on the range to help us do that consistent golf. So I want you to address that golf ball, and I want you to make some really slow reps, and you can do this at home actually without even going to the range. Swing it to the top, apply the backswing, but what I like to feel is now that as you turn, I like you to feel as though your belt buckle is working towards target and your left hip is working a little bit higher. So the move we look like we're trying to create is this feeling. So if we put our hands on the both golf clubs here, we're looking for a move which looks like this. So as you can see, I do this as I open up these hips, my left leg starts to straighten and I start to unload all my power. I'm not looking for a lot of lateral movement. I'm looking for you to create some really slow reps of opening up towards target. And I'll show you one more. To the top, belt buckle feel like it's working towards target and through to the golf ball. Very often we see a lot of people belt buckle pointing to the right of target. I really like you to feel we get belt buckle towards target, because that's really going to help you open up into impact and use that analogy of 5% shift and 95% turn to really stop you sliding into this golf ball. But if we just picture that wall and pitch that alignment stick and realize we don't want this movement, we actually want to feel like someone's pulling our left pocket around us, and that's really going to give us the feeling of these hips firing, creating more power, a bigger stretch and some better shots out on the golf course. Thank you for watching today's video on Alex Elliott Golf. If you're brand new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Today's video is all about how you can stop swaying in the backswing, sliding in the downswing, a really simple concept and an idea of having this wall behind us to not feel as though we're sliding or swaying on the downswing and the backswing. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and see you next time on Alex Elliott Golf.